Thank you for receiving us today.
Pleasure. Good to have you.
So I go straight and ask you what is new with Lange this year. I did get a glimpse of it, but
it's hard not to get. You know, if you enter the booth and you see the big watch, that of course is our main highlight watch this year. It's around my wrist.
Perfect. So you need to tell me.
Absolutely. So it's you know, if you look at Lange Söhne, we don't have a history with minute repeater. So that was only formed later on. And in 2013, you may remember, we launched the Grand Complication. That was the first time that we went into minute repeater.
Correct.
Everybody expected a classical one. We came with the Zeitwerk decimal minute repeater, then with the Richard Lange. And this is the first time that we combine the minute repeater with another big complication, in this case, a perpetual calendar. Not like any other perpetual calendar, as always, you know, our calendars are known for the big date.
Yes.
Which we think is very important because...
Absolutely important, because I just don't understand why the date perpetual, if you can't see it, is not making sense.
No, it's a general thing, and trust me, I don't have my glasses on yet, but most others, you know, the small dates or even more difficult to read are the little, you know, that are with a little hand.
Yes.
And then often it's 1, 3, 5, 7. So, you know, that's a very practical watch. It's a bit of a contradiction, you know, minute repeater perpetual.
Yes, so
is
you
a practical
have two complications. You have a perpetual calendar there, and you have a minute repeater.
Yes.
And I am sure that this must be in platinum.
It's most, you know, you say it is not. That's not the normal way of doing it, because minute repeater often come at white gold.
White gold, correct.
We prefer platinum. There's always the big argument about what sounds better. I think there's no better or worse, it's just different. We like the crisp, clear music that is formed by platinum.
Okay.
It's even waterproof to 3 ATM.
Okay.
For a very simple reason. I know nobody will go swimming with that watch, but
it's very right you telling us that.
If you go to Singapore or Bangkok or Dubai, you know, go into a shopping mall where it's 16 degrees Celsius, and then you go out, it's 40 degrees Celsius. Condensation will kick in immediately. So if the watch is not waterproof, you will have humidity in your watch.
And impacting your accuracy.
Well, there's steel parts in it, and they will start rusting. That's how easy it is. So that's why all the watches that we see are at least 3 ATM waterproof.
Oh, okay. I also happen to see a very interesting piece, which is, I think, 34 or 36 mm.
34 millimeter. Yes.
34 mm. This one is 41
That's 40.5 millimeter.
40.5 millimeter.
So it's very, very small in the total proportions for a very complicated watch, because it's about 640 parts.
But it must be a limited edition.
It's
because
50
this
watches. It's as I said, that's a very, very complicated watch. And gladly we have some great watchmaker, but you know, there is a limit to the days and the hours they can work. So that's why we have to be careful with that. 50 watches means it probably will take 3 years to produce it, 4 years to produce it.
So with the traditional and the heritage that watchmaking Lange brings forward, year after year, to keep up to that heritage and the tradition of watchmaking, marriage with technology and the fast-paced life, how do you do that?
Well, first of all, the one thing that we never change is the way we develop and produce our watches. We would not accept compromises when the markets are crazy. We will not fire people if the markets are slow. That's none of our business. We just do the things we'd like to do. The big misunderstanding is tradition doesn't mean you're not innovative. You know, tradition just means the set of values that we want to apply to ourselves. They are very traditional. there's the amount of craftsmanship and labor work, skilled labor work that goes into our watches. So we never distinguish in quality. If you looked at this beautiful 1815 34 millimeter,
is beautiful.
And the craftsmanship that goes is the same.
I want to, obviously we will talk about it, but do tell us more about what inspired the entire team to bring forward and introduce 1815.
The 1815 is with us since 1996. So it was the fifth family that we launched. And for us, it's the bridge into the history. Because if you look at the design and you just make that bigger, it would look like a pocket watch.
Yes, and it's very simple. It's very clean.
Good designs will never go out of fashion.
That is true.
And that was a strong design as it was in pocket watches. It is still a very, very good looking and strong design now that's in a watch. And the wrist presence, that's the most important. People always look at a magazine or in the internet and say, I like the watch. I always say, never buy a watch that you haven't put around your wrist.
Yes.
You touch it, you feel it, you make it yourself, you see whether it fits and suits your personality or not. So that's why, I always say, I guess, don't just buy a watch, get the watch, put it around the wrist, look at it. And the 34 millimeter on the wrist don't look like 34 millimeter. It actually looks a lot stronger.
Yes.
Yeah, very comfortable watch, quite slim.
Yes.
And again, 380 and waterproof and 72 hours of power reserve.
Okay.
So it has all the bells and whistles that you would expect. But it's a great proportion, very beautiful watch.
Congratulations on both.
Thank you.
This complicated watch, also the 1815. With Zeitwerk, Lange 1.
Yeah.
Lange is a collector's delight, a watch collector's.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to a collector who's investing in Lange for the first time?
Well, first of all, I always say, if you want to invest, go into any regulated market. Shares, stock, gold, property, that's all fine. If you love watches, please come and sit down.
Okay.
That's a very important thing because we make these watches for people that love watches.
Okay.
And that should be the driving force. That's why I said, don't just buy a watch, get it and put it around your wrist. That's where the magic happens. And then, of course, to find, it's a question of personal taste. We have these 6 different families, from the Odysseus, which was the latest watch family that we launched in 2019, to the Lange 1, which has been with us for 30 years now.
But if I was a collector, buying Lange for the first time, what is your advice or guidance? Which
Lange
one I should buy? Lange 1.
Yeah.
Why so?
Well, 30 years around,
Okay.
still the same design, still our bestseller, still the watch that most people would recognize as an Lange Söhne and watch, and it epitomizes everything we stand for. So for anyone that started a collection and has the funds, then this, I would say, is a natural first step. If you just say, look, that's a beautiful watch, but that's very expensive. That's why we have the Saxonia Thin and the watch that we just launched, the 1815, so which is less complex, still beautiful watches, no difference in quality. The love to detail, the craftsmanship that goes into it is not different to this watch. It is just less parts. That's also a good starting point.
We observe, and I'm sure that you also observe, that small is in. Would you agree on that? And why do you see that happening? I will complete I want to just stay with me for just few seconds more. Small was something which mostly we observed for many years, coming from the major market for many of the brands from China. Wrist was smalls, and then but all since last 1 year we observe that small is becoming big now. You have any comments on that?
Well, first of all, we don't follow any trends.
Okay.
I really mean that. The size of our watches is determined by the parts and how we get them into that property. That's all it matters for us. So we don't follow trend, and it actually wouldn't be possible because we worked 5 years on the movement. And 5 years ago, I mean, who would have known that now smaller watches are more en vogue than they were 5 years ago? No, it's nothing we do, it's nothing we follow, it's nothing we work on.
Okay.
Same with colors and so on and so forth. We do what we think is good for our Lange Söhne, which is in the heart of our business, which is a great watch, and then that's what we do. That's why the third novelties that we launched, the Odysseus and Honeygold.
Yes, Honeygold. I wanted to ask you about that. Good, you brought it out. Was it not introduced in 2010, Honeygold?
It was first introduced 2010, exactly 2010. As I came. Yes, exactly.
2010 it was introduced, and it was such a talk of the town. And I believe you have introduced something in Honeygold in Odysseus.
Yes, and ever since then we launched it for limited editions for a very simple reason that gold is very hard to work with. It's harder than normal gold.
Would platinum be harder than gold?
But it's tougher.
Platinum tougher.
That's why platinum is also very difficult to work with, because it's very intense, very hard to work because it eats the tooling.
Yes.
Same with the Honeygold. And the request came from our clients years back, a wonderful bracelet gold watch. Now, if the concept of a golden watch is not a natural fit with our Lange Söhne, isn't it?
Actually, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So it was, and I said, Jesus, that's a tough one.
Yes.
And gladly we have Honeygold, and Honeygold will change.
And that's how Honeygold was born. And now
all the time. Somebody early on said it's like a chameleon. It will adjust to the light you expose it to, and that's the only way that we can produce a full gold watch, Lange Söhne, and people will say, yeah, it's still, you haven't lost your DNA. You're not going away from what you stand for.
It's so true, actually. This is how Honeygold was born.
Yeah.
I understand now. So, would India happen for Lange Söhne, or
at the moment we're still reducing the number of point of sales, and for a very easy reason. On the one hand, you want to create proximity to your customers and clients. On the other hand, if you now enter a shop, you also want to see an aggregation of offer and sales and services.
The entire experience.
Absolutely. You want to indulge yourself.
True.
You don't want to go there and see two watches and talk to somebody that has no idea what he or she is talking about. And we're still working on the balance to find enough point of sales with the right people so that it's always an immersive experience. So you don't go there for the simple transaction, here's my credit card, can I get a watch? That's not really what we aim for. We want to have, not everybody can come to Glashütte because it's a bit remote, but if you want to see the next best thing, if you want to understand our Lange Söhne, then you should enter our boutiques.
Totally agree. Thank you so much.
Please.